AIP Chairperson, Ms. Anita Mangcwaba, AIP Executive Director, Dr. Kate Skinner, AIP Board Members, Google News Partner Lead Southern Africa, Ms. Marian Erasmus, MDDA Board Member, Mr. Hussein Kajika, SANEF Secretary General, Dr. Glenda Daniels, Press Council Member, Mr. Isaac Minar. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, good afternoon. My name is Lindile Kanyile. I am a publisher and editor of Umbele, the Zulu financial publication. I am also an AIP board member in KwaZulu-Natal. Last week, the latest ABC newspaper circulation figures were released. As has been the case for years now, newspaper circulation continued to tumble, except for two newspapers. Independent Media SA is retrenching and restructuring yet again. Last year, it was Arena Holdings. Media 24 is changing the format of some of its publications. This story is no different in other parts of the world either. But in the midst of all these challenges, there are independent publishers who have always been part of the news ecosystem, who fulfill a role that colleagues in large commercial news organizations don't. In addition to giving voice to grassroots communities by prioritizing hyperlocal stories, these are news organizations that tell stories in indigenous languages, a critical element when we talk about inclusivity. Though small, but these newsrooms are also faced with the same sustainability challenges confronting large organizations. Also, they are chasing that elusive online business model while revenue is declining. Whether large or small, the consequences are the same when news organizations don't have enough resources to carry out their jobs. The public is shortchanged, those in power get away with murder, and it creates a conducive environment for misinformation and disinformation. In South Africa, most of the small organizations are members of the Association of Independent Publishers, AIP. Though the road ahead remains rocky, but today we have a reason to be optimistic because months of negotiations have yielded something tangible. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are pleased to share a major development in the sector that will not only offer a reprieve to some of these organizations, but also lay a foundation for what should be a new chapter when we talk about journalism in South Africa. I would now like to call upon the AIP chairman, Ms. Anita Mangcwaba, who will give more details.
Esteemed local publishers, distinguished members of the media, honorable representatives of government, our valued partners in SANEF, esteemed colleagues from the Press Council and across the media industry, our international allies, particularly the International Fund for Public Interest Media, and our most important, our funder, Google. A heartfelt and professional welcome to you all. Today marks a groundbreaking moment for the media landscape in South Africa, as our country witnessed its largest ever investment in community media. This milestone underscores the vital role of local-driven journalism in fostering informed and empowered communities. For decades, community media outlets have been the backbone of grassroots reporting, amplifying the voices of underserviced populations and preserving culture and linguistic diversity. This historic initiative not only reaffirms the importance of independent, community-focused journalism, but also sets the stage for more inclusive, informed, and democratic society. With this investment, the future of local media in South Africa shines brighter than ever. The Digital News Transformation Fund is a groundbreaking partnership between the Association of Independent Publishers and Google. We believe it is set to revolutionize local journalism. Over the next 3 years, the Digital News Transformation Fund will deliver a monumental 114 million, the biggest financial commitment ever made to South Africa's grassroots media sector. I think that deserves a round of applause. We understand the challenges of our publishers and recognize the devastating impact COVID-19 has had on our sector, with many of us forced to halt printing. However, we believe this fund serves not only as a lifeline, but also as a launchpad for something new and exciting. Local and independent publishers, long underfunded and under-resourced, now have a chance to rise. We believe our publishers are the heartbeat of our democracy. They hold power to account, tell the stories of marginalized, speak to people in their own mother tongue languages, capture our local history and culture, and work actively wrestling and defeat mis- and disinformation at the local level. For too long, we have struggled with the digital divide, declining revenues, and rising printing prices. Today, we can finally say there is light at the end of the tunnel. This unprecedented funding is about more than money. It's about reshaping the future of journalism. It's about empowering publishers to embrace digital transformation, produce original public interest journalism, and build sustainable newsrooms that thrive in the digital age. It is about ensuring that our media ecosystem is inclusive, diverse, and capable of reaching every South African, no matter where they live or what language they speak. So upfront, let's answer some of your important questions. Firstly, who will our Digital News Fund support? The Digital News Transformation Fund's overall objectives are to strengthen local and independent news organizations to develop their digital operations, produce original public interest journalism, promote diversity and inclusion, and foster long-term sustainability. The DNT Fund will provide targeted support to media organizations that support public interest journalism, ensure digital transformation and product development, focus on financial sustainability and revenue development, promote audience engagement, and product agnostic. DNT support projects do not need to make use of Google products and services. Secondly, who can apply for this fund? The eligible criteria for the fund are as follows. Beneficiaries must be local or independent news publishers who produce original public interest journalism and who have existing or planned digital news products, or industry bodies who support the local and independent news media ecosystem. Beneficiaries do not need to be members of AIP or to make use of Google products or services. Beneficiaries must be members of the Press Council of South Africa to ensure a commitment to journalistic ethics. Applications for funding may be made by standalone publishers, meaning individual beneficiaries or consortiums and collectives, collective beneficiaries, to enable industry-wide projects. Publishers who qualify for or already benefit from a digital news showcase agreement are excluded from applying as individual beneficiaries. Publishers with more than 1 million unique monthly visitors to their websites are precluded from applying to the fund as individual beneficiaries unless they are eligible for Google News Showcase Agreement due to language or other restrictions. Beneficiaries must display a genuine commitment to digital transformation, including a tangible technological or commercial goal, and to develop strategies to ensure the sustainability of their organizations. Beneficiaries may not be news aggregators, general interest magazines without a clear commitment to public interest journalism, or broadcasting services. Thirdly, how will the fund be administrated? It will be administrated by an experienced, independent trust, Tshukululu Social Investments. Oversight, governance, and day-to-day management of the fund will fall to several structures. And these are the structures. The fund secretariat housed within Tshukululu Social Investments will manage the fund's day-to-day operations. An adjudication committee made up of 5 independent industry experts will review and approve applications for funding. A multi-stakeholder oversight and advisory board will be constituted to provide overall strategic and fiscal oversight of the fund. The board will include representatives from the Press Council and AIP. The DNT fund will be subject to robust transparency and reporting mechanisms, and a list of all beneficiaries, including the type of funding, the amount received, and the funding period will be made publicly available. Members of the Oversight and Advisory Board will be subject to conflict of interest policy. To ensure the independence of the DNT fund, Google, as the primary funder, will not be involved in funding decisions and will not participate in any of the organs of the DNT fund. Fourthly, and finally, how much funding will the DNT fund provide? It is envisaged that the DNT fund will offer 3 tiers of support, depending on the needs and the capacity of each applicant. The first tier is built up to 380,000 Rand per project per year for publishers with limited or no online presence to lay the groundwork for a solid digital foundation. The second tier, grow, up to 950,000 per project per year for publishers with basic digital projects seeking to expand their reach and capabilities. The third tier, engage, up to 1.9 million per project per year for digitally mature publishers looking to invest in new technologies to enhance their digital business models. Colleagues, we are so excited by the promise of this initiative. We need to remember that this is not just a financial moment. We believe it is a historic turning point that invites all of us, publishers, journalists, editors, activists, and academics, to take action. To the publishers and journalists, Seize this opportunity to innovate and bring your stories to life in ways that inspire and inform. To the academics and the activists in the room, this is your chance to push for accountability and demand that media serves the public good. And to all of us here and online, this is our moment to reimagine the future of media and equip the next generation with the skills and the vision they need to succeed. Let us not underestimate the power of this investment. It is a recognition of the value of grassroots voices and a commitment to democracy and a belief in the resilience of our media industry. This is our time to ensure that every community has a voice, and I thank you.
Thank you, Sis Anita. And ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat so you can digest it. The Digital News Transformation Fund will invest 114 million rand over the next 3 years. Former AIP chairman, Usisimbali Dlomo, often says community media is the new mainstream. And I think everyone will now agree with her. And from what Sis Anita said, one of the most important things for me is the distinction between news originators and news aggregators, because one of the challenges we face is a trust deficit. And this is sometimes because the public doesn't know how to or can't distinguish between originators and aggregators. All the information will be on the AIP website. Since the conversation started with big tech in our country, Google has been welcoming, accessible, and amenable to engaging with the news industry. I would now like to call upon Google News Partner Lead Southern Africa, Ms. Marianne Erasmus.
Thanks so much. And thanks so much for the warm welcome, Kate, and the IAP board. I must say it was a very impressive welcome from Slee and Aneta, and I feel like I should greet you all in a far more formal way. But we're really delighted to be here. These conversations have been ongoing for the better part of the past 2 years, so I'm really delighted that we're at this point just before we close out the year. So Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And journalism plays a very important role in that. It allows us to connect our users to authoritative, credible, and high-quality information via our search products. Google also recognizes the societal value of news, and we've been working with the news industry for the past 20 years to support the creation of quality digital journalism. Through our products, services, and partnerships, we're one of the world's biggest financial supporters of journalism. In South Africa, and through our collaboration with the AIP, we recognize the important role that local, independent, and vernacular language publishers play in supporting the rich tapestry of community news. And together, we've developed a principled fund structure that is nuanced and thoughtful, with the goal of offering meaningful support to this important part of the broader news ecosystem. This fund has been designed to take into account the digital maturity of the eligible applicants and to respond to the needs of the publishers directly to foster a sustainable future for local news. The fund will provide different funding bands to accommodate projects with a clear and tangible technological or commercial goal that will result in strengthening digital foundations, increasing audience reach and engagement, and establishing practical data strategies that will lead to resilient advertising and reader revenue models. And all of this will be strengthened by ongoing training and upskilling through the Google News Initiative. This collaboration with AIP is part of our ongoing engagements with the broader South African news industry and policymakers around the best way to support the full South African news ecosystem. This fund demonstrates that we are playing our part to enable a better future for journalism. But ultimately, the task ahead is one of shared responsibility between platforms, publishers, government, civic society, and business. We believe that this 114 million rand investment over the next 3 years will make a meaningful impact on the local news ecosystem and will continue to work. We look forward to continue our work with the broader industry around implementing collaborative and sustainable solutions that are tailored to the unique needs of the South African news landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. And thank you that you support your commitment with actions. Though AIP and SANEF have slightly different mandates, but we have a similar agenda, which is why now I will call upon the SG of SANEF, Dr. Glenda Daniels, who will say a few words.
Thanks so much, Slee. It's so important for us to understand that we sitting in this room here today are part of a very, very robust civil society in South Africa. We are very lucky indeed in our country to be able to have this as a SANEF AIP partnership. Congratulations on this funding to the AIP, because it's really about a kickstart for voices, for otherness, for diversity, plurality, which all has steadily been lost, not over the last 5 years since COVID, but actually over the last 20 years since digitization. So on Thursday, Wits Journalism Project is launching the State of the Newsroom. And what you're going to find in there are swings and the roundabouts, losses and gains, like a tug of war. But the most important point about that loss and gain is that, in fact, community media does gain in terms of membership. It's not all losses, but the struggle to survival is there. So I would say digital transformation is the way to go, but it has to be more than maintained. It has to be enhanced. It has to grow even bigger. And, you know, well done to Google for doing this, but it is, it can't be just a once-off thing. And the next thing you know, in 2 years down the line, there's no 114 million because that wasn't, it wasn't growing, and that's what needs to happen. So as SANEF, we acknowledge the challenge and resilience of community media. It's not all doom and gloom, and now it's going to get even better. And we acknowledge the importance of community media, which fits into the broader media landscape. It's not a tangent, it's integral to the broader media ecoscape. And this builds on SANEF's digitization drive, which we started, if I'm not mistaken, at least 5 years ago. AIP and community media have actually not been low on the priorities of SANEF. It's been one of the top priorities of SANEF. And thanks to people like Dooney, Wezi, and Kate over here, and Isak, you know, there's so many people here who've brought the organizations together so that we actually work in partnership, not in little silos. So SANEF supports the DNT Fund and is proud to do so with the advice and expertise, reinforcing its commitment to fostering a stronger and more sustainable media industry, of which the community media is central. And we want to say we are all learning and growing together in this digital age. And the digital age didn't happen yesterday, as we know. It started like more than 20 years ago. And as mainstream media people or gazers with the mainstream media that we come to, we feel like we're constantly trying to catch up with what's happening in the technological world, the digital world, the world of TikToks, and the world of YouTubing and content creators out there. So we have to embrace it all, actually. We can't say this one is okay and that one is not okay. We have to embrace that the world of media consists of a whole plethora of different things. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda. And I think we're now going to move on to the Press Council, because as much as we hold people accountable, it is just as important that people can also hold us accountable for our actions. And the Press Council is the body that is key to that, and which is why it is important for us as the AIP and as an industry as a whole to insist that any organization that will be considered for this fund will have to be a member of the Press Council. And I think will have to have been a member for a number of years, not join today because the fund has been announced. So, but I will now call upon Press Council member, Mr. Isaac Minar, to say a few words.
I must say, it's the first time I hear about that a number of years a member. So we're not making up rules as we go on. I need to declare first that in a personal capacity, that I was asked to assist the AIP team in negotiating this deal to set up the fund. And I thought I should just declare that separately from, because I was then also asked by the Press Council, because I'm a member, to deliver a short message of support on behalf of the Press Council. So the Press Council has been actively participating in media viability initiatives, always from the perspective that credible news in the public interest is essential for citizens to exercise their democratic rights. We have also petitioned the Competition Commission and the tech platforms to prioritize news from credible sources, both by supporting news media financially and by foregrounding credible news on their platforms as an antidote to disinformation, but also to play their role as online public utilities in providing their users with news and information as a public good. One of the key measures in determining credible news sources is whether they subscribe to a code of ethics and subject themselves to an independent complaints body and its adjudication and sanctioning procedures, such as the Press Council of South Africa. We therefore want to commend AIP and Google for introducing as a key eligibility requirement adherence by grant recipients to the Press Code of Ethics and Conduct for print and online media. It is a great way of supporting quality content and ethical conduct in the media, and we hope others will follow this example to the ultimate benefit of an informed society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are almost at the end of our program. There will be an opportunity for questions. What some in this room may not be aware of is that just 4 years ago, the AIP as an organization was collapsing. In fact, it had collapsed until Dr. Kate Skinner agreed to cross the floor, as it were, from SANEF to the AIP. And I'd like to ask, before I ask her to come on stage, if we could please acknowledge her contribution, because Dr. Kate Skinner has revived the AIP and played a huge role in what we are seeing today. In fact, we were surprised when she agreed to join the AIP. So, thank you, Kate, for all your hard work. Transparency is key, ladies and gentlemen, when money is involved. Other than the criteria, there are other issues we needed to address to ensure that everything will be transparent and also compliant with all the rules and regulations of the country. It was also a process that required support from other stakeholders, because as AIP, our resources are limited. I would now like to call upon AIP Executive Director, Dr. Kate Skinner, who will outline all the steps that we have taken to ensure transparency. Dr. Skinner.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Slee. Those are such kind and wonderful words. I really appreciate that. So what I'm going to be doing is thanking the various people that have been part of this project. And I mean, it is incredible to think about how many different people were part of it. And once I've thanked those people, because it's really important to get the sense of this being a collective project, I'm then going to talk, Slee, about the way forward. And then we're going to open up to questions, as Slee said. So the first very important person and very important group that I need to thank is, of course, Google. And I want to thank Marin Erasmus, Abongile Mashele, Abongile, see you in the audience over there, and the whole Google team. And I want to thank you for making this fund a reality. The simple truth is that there would be no fund without Google. And this has been an incredible journey. I mean, Marin, we've been on it for a while, ups and downs, backwards and forwards. But I also want to make a very special thank you to you, because you've really stuck with the process. And yeah, there's some real integrity in that. And I really, really want to thank you. Thank you, Marion. I then want to go right back to the beginning, and I want to thank Hussein Kajika. Hussein, where are you? Ah, there you are at the back. Hussein, thank you for initiating the early discussions about the need for this fund and laying the groundwork for the initiative. Thank you for bringing us on board as small local publishers into the PSS discussions. I really want to thank you. And you're also here as an MDDA board member, so that's wonderful, so thank you. Then I'm looking at Mpumi Mkonza and her whole family. And I want to tell you that I'm really honored that you're here today. And I want to say that your mother, Sis Octavia Kulungwani, played an incredibly important role in this fund in terms of being my partner when we first started the discussions. When I was having the discussions with, the small group of people on board, from the side of the board, your mother was the person that was there. And I hope that she's kind of looking down on us and thinking, wow, we did it. and that's just amazing. So thank you very, very much for being here. And then Khadija Patel, and Irene Liu as well, from the International Fund for Public Interest Media, IFPIM. I mean, a heartfelt thanks to you. Thank you for putting the funds into assisting us in terms of our legal support, but also thank you for your ongoing thoughtful input in terms of governance issues. Really, really appreciate what you've done. And when I finished with this, I'm going to call on you to talk a little bit about IFPIM. Michael Power and your whole team, Murray Hunter, the whole Alt Advisory and Power and Associates. I mean, Michael, my deep appreciation to you. I mean, I have to say that I think you really saw our cause as local publishers, and you put in that extra commitment. And I just want to thank you really for all that extra work that you've done. And also just to say that I love the way that William Bird refers to you as Super M. I actually really think that that's very much what you do. So thank you. And then Isak Minnar. So sincere thanks to you for your steadfast support and the countless hours that you have spent on this fund. And I have to say that, the sector constantly says this, Isak, what would we do without you? Really? I mean, in terms of all the input that you make at all these different levels. So a really warm thank you to you. And then Chamu, I see you in the front there. Chamu Nkombe. thank you very much for taking on this role as Chikululu Social Investments. It's amazing to have you on board. It's an honor, it's a pleasure to have you on board. And thanks for engaging deeply with the intricacies of the process. Really has been so powerful. And then, of course, my wonderful colleagues in SANEF and the Press Council. I mean, thank you to Glenda. Thank you again to Isaac. It's really important to have the strong ecology, in the media sector. And I think, as you were saying, Glenda, I mean, the power of civil society and having these bodies, there is just incredibly important. And then, last but not least, I need to thank AIP board members, AIP members, and I want to in particular acknowledge Mbali Dlomo, thank you, our ex-chairperson, really appreciate your input, unbelievable. And Aneta, thank you for your amazing inputs all the way through. Mbali passed on the baton to you. Well, it's just Octavia passed on the baton to Mbali. Mbali passed on the baton to you. And thank you for that kind of consistency. And Duni, where are you, Duni? I spot you there, Duni. Dunisani, very much part of the negotiating team, chasing us every day. Every time I'm like, Duni, it's enough. I can't do any more. And he's like, no, we need to do more. And I'm like, okay, Duni. So I really want to thank you because it's your passion. And then to all our board members and to the Gauteng publishers that have come today and all our publishers online. I mean, just this big, warm thank you to all of you. So now, onto the issue of what are the next steps? And, then I'm going to be handing over to you, Chamo, and to Khadija. But, so what this is actually the first moment when we've got the money and we're there, but that's the beginning of the journey. And so what we need to do now is to put the funding policy in place. That is going to be absolutely critical. That is going to look at the issues of the criteria. And I'm laughing about what you were saying, Isaac, about, you have to be a member of the Press Council for many years. Though that is where we are going to have the fight around the details of how we access this funding. It's going to be a really, really important document. And to Slee's point, we are going to be super transparent. We're going to make sure that all the money that comes out, who gets it, how much they get, all of that is going to be there. And the funding policy is going to play a key role in terms of that. Then, of course, what is going to be critical is our board. We're going to need to put in place a trusted board, and we're going to need to have a very powerful, trusted chairperson. And I'm looking forward to that process of selecting those people, and also out-of-the-box thinkers that are going to really help us think through how do we make this money count? How do we make sure that this is going to be sustainable for the long term? And then, of course, we need that adjudication panel. And again, selecting those people that are going to be on the adjudication panel is going to be incredibly important. So those are some of the next steps. And what we're saying is that we literally want to be putting out proposals in March 2025. We want people to be able to literally be applying in March 2025. So the pressure is on. I know I have Duni there making sure that I don't slack off, but we will be making sure that we actually open our doors as the fund. So I want to then call on Chamo to just talk from the floor a little bit about TSI, Chikululu Social Investments, and what you are doing in terms of this project. So over to you. I hope we've got a mic. Yeah.
Am I audible now? Yeah. Yes. Okay, fantastic. Great to see you, Mike. Mike has been our partner in crime in getting Chikululu to this point. So great to see you in the audience. Just a little bit about Chikululu and who we are. I don't know if people in the audience, if our colleagues know much about Chikululu, but Chikululu has been around for 26 years. And what we do is we work with organizations, corporates, different bodies that have got an interest in many cases, social investments. And what we do is we help these organizations achieve their objectives. And that is through, in some cases, helping to set up funds, trusts, put the governance structures in place, make sure that things are very clear. I like what we heard today about transparency. It's quite important that the systems are transparent to everyone. And then in many cases, we actually work with them around some of the things that are fairly mundane, like your secretariat type work. We do the admin, make sure that they are compliant with legislation where it's required, make sure that they have the right systems and tools and processes in place to achieve their objectives in a clear and transparent fashion. So that's the one side of what we do. Then the other side is what we call program management. And effectively what that is we work with those partners, those corporates, organizations, and we then go and identify the projects that are important for their mandate to be realized. And by that I mean we go and we canvass, in some cases actually, the stakeholders in the communities and society, and then we ask them to bring us various programs and projects that are in line with what the organization wants to achieve. And we work again with that, always working in collaboration with the organization. We identify those programs that are important. Then we go and we say, now we will execute. We will help you execute those programs. And what do I mean by that? It means we actually roll them out. If it means going to find partners that will help us with the execution, we do that. Third parties that are required to be able to achieve those objectives, we do that. But we provide the program management for all of that. And I think a key element around this is coming back again to that transparency piece, where we are able to do the right level of monitoring and evaluation, getting people to provide the outputs of what they're doing, and then reporting, making sure that at the end of the day, those clients of ours and those partners of ours, in this case, AIP and Google, you get to see what exactly is being done with these resources that you've made available to the beneficiaries. Right? So that's part of our role, to make sure that that is channeled in the right way and the right reports are provided, right interventions are taken, and if we need to then go and capacitate, in some cases, the implementation partners, we do that. Ultimately for us, it's about the impact out there. The work that we do with the beneficiaries of the recipients of the funding in this case. What are they going to do? How will their lives, how will their operations, how will their end point recipients of their outputs, of their products, how will they, how will this whole become sustainable? And what is the value that they will derive at the end of the day? And that's why it's important that we continue to work collaboratively with our clients, with our partners, and of course with those third parties, and with making sure that ultimately it's about those beneficiaries that receive the resources to achieve what they need to achieve out there in the communities. So with that, let me stop. I'm sure there may be some questions for me afterwards. I'm very happy to engage afterwards. Thank you so much, Kate.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Chamo. Brilliant. So over to you, Khadija.
Thanks so much. And yeah, I just want to commend Tikululu as well for the spirit in which they've entered this sector. I know this is new for you, but I want to say how lucky we have been, to have actually secured your commitment to this. I'm here in my position as journalist in residence with the International Fund for Public Interest Media. For those of you who don't know, the International Fund is a global multilateral financing mechanism aimed at combating the existential crisis that news media faces in low and middle income countries. So much like the Global Fund responds to a public health crisis, the International Fund aims to combat the information crisis at hand and really sees news media, public interest news media, as a vital public good that demands new commitment from both private and public sectors. So we are thrilled to have worked with AIP and so proud to see the launch of this fund. We are working on various national funds around the world, and last week launched an international network of funds. It's a very clumsy term. I hope we come back up with a better term, but basically a grouping of people from around the world who are all working on similar initiatives. We've got people all the way from Indonesia to Sierra Leone to Brazil, and including 2 initiatives in South Africa. We really are seeing a lot of energy around national funds and what this might mean as a potential systemic solution, unlocking change within the ecosystem. And talking about the ecosystem, I want to commend AIP really for the spirit in which they have launched this fund and the fact that they have taken the entire South African media ecosystem along with them. So often, when there are opportunities like this, we see organizations cannibalize the opportunity for themselves. But I think it says a lot about both the spirit of the leadership of AIP, but also the spirit of the work that it does, the fact that it is rooted within communities, that they have really brought along the entire South African media ecosystem, and till today, will concern themselves with what this means for everybody and not just for themselves. So these are certainly exciting times. I'm very happy as well to answer any questions you might have about the International Fund. I don't have a checkbook on me myself. Marianne's the one writing out checks today, so we'll go to her. But thank you all and congratulations, everybody.
Thank you very much to both our speakers. We'll now open up for questions, ladies and gentlemen. If there are any questions or comments, we have about 15 minutes. We will wrap up our program at 5 o'clock. Are there any questions? Okay, there's a hand at the back.
Good afternoon. My name is Steven Siakwe. I come from the Black Media Owners Association of South Africa. I'm also a publisher at Mapepeza News Media. We are a newspaper / website. I just have a couple of questions. The first one, but before I start with the questions, let me just put on my association hat. As a partner in the media industry, we just want to express our full support in this fund, and would like to commend the AIP for their unwavering leadership, because the way this fund is handled, it shows that this country has a future in news media where the fourth estate can actually play a pivotal role in making sure that we do what is needed in this country to change for the better. So as the BMOA, we do welcome the fund's existence. We also would like to welcome the leadership that will come through the adjudication board and the people who are going to handle this fund and the companies thereof. We really see that it's a holistic approach, where not just one part where we handle transparency, but also legal elements, and parts where we also include our council members, where they have to actually incorporate the news element to it. So we really welcome that part. On my side, a couple of questions that I wanted to ask to our stakeholders here. Number one, we just want to find out, regarding the news media, in the past 2 years, we've seen a lot of media houses close down. It's not just of their own, but circumstantially. Post-COVID, some of them couldn't survive, especially in print. We had to find digital means to make them transition, but others have given up on this process. So we just want to find out that some of these publishers, will they be accommodated in the fund where in the past couple of years, just post-COVID, they had to survive, but they closed down. So we just want to find out how the criteria is going to work out with those, because they resolutely wanted to start and continue or sustain themselves, but they couldn't. So they are where they are, and this thing emerges at this time. We just want to find out if it accommodates them. And then lastly, regarding Google's role in the partnership, we just want to find out that publishers that are part of this fund, will they be required to pay or to accommodate paying for Google services within the fund? Because some of us, we are reliant on Google services, so we don't really want to know, but we want to know as a key partner, will we really be wanting to foot the bill as Google will be partnering in this thing? Thank you.
Thank you, but Stephen, is there a third question? And colleagues, may I please ask that we be brief so that we give as many people as possible an opportunity? Thank you. Yes, Ms. Patis.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say this is a welcome intervention for local media, which is actually the mainstream media, if you consider how close they are to the stories of the citizens in the country. I just want to comment on something that I believe is important. I want to commend Google for saying they're not going to get involved in the decisions to fund the entities that are going to be submitting applications. I think that's a good thing. But also, I think the decision to involve Chigululu is a brilliant one, because the concern is always around de-risking these interventions, to the extent that those that are going to apply are not applying directly to a fund that's administered by Google. So it's a welcome guardrail to ensure the independence of these entities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patiso. And I will now give our panel members an opportunity to respond to the questions raised thus far.
So on the first question about whether, if I understood it correctly, whether dormant publishers would be eligible. So when we explained the different tiers of the fund, we said that the lowest tiers would be for those publishers who want to go digital. So if they come up with a plan, a proposal on what they need to start a digital publication, then they would certainly be in the running for the funds. But I want to emphasize what was briefly referred to earlier about the funding policy. So while we have the broad outline and framework of how much money, for what kind of activities and so on, when we start the consultation process on the funding policy, the question will be, what is it that the industry really wants? What's most urgent? What should the first tranche of grants be focusing on? And that's a kind of feedback that we will need from the industry to guide us on literally drafting the scope of the first funding round.
Thank you. Just in terms of the Google products, I think we said earlier in Aneta's talk as well, we were very deliberate in designing the fund that it's completely product agnostic. So there's no obligation on any of the eligible grantees to use any of the Google Suite products in your digital transformation journeys. If, however, you are using existing Google products, most of those services are for free in any case. And of course, you can continue to use the suite available through Journalist Studio.
Thanks, Marianne.
Can I just ask, Marianne, can you just clarify something? Because my understanding is that this fund and getting money from the fund will not impact on your normal Google News Initiative training and other support, right?
Not at all. So, as I mentioned in my earlier comments, our intention is absolutely to work with a full South African news ecosystem. We recognize that South Africa has got a very nuanced and a very layer combination of publishers and landscape that need different support, different things, different elements. So we are in constant conversation to collaborate with both the big national publishers with a set of solutions that we believe will make a meaningful contribution, as well then with the local community publishers with establishing this fund. And then underpinned with all of these solutions that we're putting to market is everything that we offer through the Google News Initiative. So the training will continue, and we would very much welcome feedback from the ecosystem that as you start on these digital news transformation journeys, what are the elements that you believe can strengthen your digital foundations? And we'll be willing to work with you to create that training module for you in a bespoke fashion.
Thank you. Kate?
So, yeah, thanks for all of those questions. I just wanted to add one thing, which I probably should have said also when I was looking at the kind of way forward. So when we're going to be putting together that funding, policy, one of the things is it's going to be for individual publishers, but it's also going to be for collectives. And I think that's also important. So you can look at like an industry wide initiative, so it could be an industry wide initiative, but it also could be provincial. So I'm just like looking at all the Gauteng publishers that we've got in the room. I mean, you might, as a group of Gauteng publishers, decide that you want to look at, I don't know, an advertising initiative around digital issues or shared services or that kind of thing. And I mean, for instance, if you look at the SANEF digitization drive, there's some really interesting, exciting work that's happening there. And, the possibilities of like next steps in terms of that or next phases could potentially be covered. Thanks.
Thank you, Kate. Do we have any more questions, colleagues? Yes, sir.
My name is Fanel. Thank you so much, bro. My name is Fanel Masego from Lokshin News. First of all, I would like to congratulate myself and other struggling publishers for this wonderful news. Thank you so much, Google, for what you have done for us. I'm so excited. My only question is that if this is a 3-year funding cycle, would you continue maybe next time come with 316 million? Because I honestly think that we deserve $1 billion. We really deserve $1 billion. We've been struggling for many years. So that's my question. Is there any sustainability plans for this fund? Because we don't want something that will just come out and we are excited about it, and then after 5 years we're back to square one.
So I think two thoughts there. The first one is that within Google, within digital platforms, we are faced with such fast-changing consumer preferences and such a fast-changing consumer landscape that we don't know what it's going to look like next year this time. Things are happening so fast in terms of the tech developments coming out of the platforms, but things are also speeding up significantly if you think about how youth and new news consumers would like to access news, how they want to consume news, what platforms they choose to consume news in. So we believe that a 3-year horizon is as far as we can realistically look. I think it's even a bit too far. And the intention is that we will iterate and adapt to stay in step with how we see the tech is changing and how we see the consumer preferences are changing. The second point, the purpose of this fund is to be a digital news transformation fund with the end goal that there is a resilient reader or advertising business model for you at the end. The purpose of this fund is not to be a handout to publishers in perpetuity. It is to help give you a boost to get to a point where you can run a resilient business by having this initial helping hand. So my answer is we're going to keep on working with the industry, we're going to keep on collaborating, and we're going to keep on understanding where the needs are, and we'll respond to that accordingly.
Thank you, Marianne. I'm not sure, colleagues, if there are any questions from our online audience. Tsutsi V? Do we have any questions online? And is there anyone else who has a question here? We do have 2 minutes to wrap up, and I like the idea of being punctual. I really do. Okay, I think there are no more questions. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I think I want to reflect on, I will not go into details, but a private conversation that a few months ago that I had with a former JSE listed firm CEO who I will not name, but he's in the telecom space, and he said, everything that can be connected will be connected. But due to the socio-economic dynamics in our country, there is a section of our population that is left behind. And as independent publishers, we are key to bridging that digital divide. So again, thank you to Google for enabling us to do that. And we do look forward to a lasting partnership with you. And again, thank you, AIP board members. Thank you, SANEF. Thank you, Press Council. Thank you to all AIP publishers. Thank you, Chukululu. Thank you, FPIM. Thank you, Sis Octavia's family. Thank you, Michael. And thank you guys for attending. Have a good evening. I think there are refreshments, right? Yes. Please join us for refreshments. And thank you.